Today's video, we're going to talk about, does Facebook right column convert well or convert better than the normal feed placements when you're running Facebook/Meta ads? It does actually convert better than the feed ads, despite what many people think and have heard, because of exactly what I'm going to talk about in this video, which is it's an overlooked placement that a lot of people have just diverted away from, and as a result, the traffic's cheaper than and eyeballs are cheaper than what you're going to get through the standard news feed, at least for certain offers that are less complex in nature. For a great majority of the offers out there that you could be promoting, at least when you're open-minded about how you promote it, taking something that's a normal everyday product and framing it in a way that will be interesting in the right feed or right column, if you will. If you stay to the end of the video, I will give you an actual case study in the wedding planning space where we actually use right column placements to get an ROI 10 times what we got in the regular news feed, which tells you just how much this can actually provide for your business, or could be your key to unlocking ads that will work for your business on Facebook, because a lot of people struggle with just getting to an ROI nowadays, especially with the privacy updates and everything that came through a few years back. So I'm going to go over all those details and more on today's video so you can see just how much this works. Before I do, if you do not know who I am Corey Zyman, owner of Guaranteed PPC, an online advertising agency that specializes in guaranteeing results for their clients. That is, we do not charge our clients management fees until we can get them a certain minimum lift in their profitability, basically in excess of the management fees that we charge. We are the only agency on the planet who offers any kind of similar management guarantee, which tell you something about the quality of the information that I'm sharing with you on today's video. So with that said, getting into the content. Now, Facebook right column used to never convert that well. And just to be clear here, you got your news feed, and then you got your right column where there's ads over here most of the time. When Facebook ads first came out, and I've been doing online advertising a long time, 20 years now altogether. 2005 is when I first started running ads online for businesses that at that time that I just ran myself, didn't have the agency yet. In 2009, when they came out and had the feed itself and they started advertising, the feed ads were always better converting than the right column. And the reason for that is because people in the news feed, they weren't used to always seeing ads there, okay? Things have changed though. Nowadays, people are used to seeing ads in the feed. Frankly, if you will, they're on guard for it. Not only that, but like I mentioned before, the right column doesn't work, so they just stopped advertising on it, meaning cost for the placement there is less than it is on the newsfeed. So things have changed, and this is kind of like how internet marketing in general works. Marketing in general works. Everybody piles into one channel because they heard it works, abandoning other channels. Those channels now suddenly are underutilized, and therefore they start working. And therefore there'll never be one way to advertise online or in general. Even like physical mail, direct mail, we still do that. And it works because everybody thinks it doesn't work anymore. And online ads are the only way to sell something. And then as a result of that, because nobody gets a physical letter in the mail, they might get one a month now, my letter gets really, really paid attention to. So necessarily really even scrutinizing the right feed is as much anymore, and people aren't advertising there. So it ultimately gets a higher response than it did, and it's cheaper than what it was, being the main factor of why it actually converts better than the feed ads, which is why you should ultimately try to run it at the very least, and maybe just run it exclusively if you're struggling to get an ROI with it in general already anyway. If the right column does not convert better than the regular feed placement, then it's because you have the wrong creative. So this will not work for everybody marketing everything. At least, like I mentioned before, how you decide to market it or advertise it. So you could offer a product as is and say, here's the product, and have that in the right column. With that, you may not be able to sell. Whereas if you market as, oh my God, here's the reaction to the item that I had, and have that as your ad, it will start working. Why? Because it makes it look interesting enough that I would want to click on it, if you will. So for that matter as well, what you have is very complicated to explain. Like let's say you're selling some, like CFO consulting services. It's really hard in the small space on a right column ad to explain the value proposition there, that the newsfeed ad is probably your better bet because you have bigger ad space, more text to explain it. Not to say a lot of you guys couldn't figure out a way to be more concise. In that example, I would be saying 27% of CEOs aren't making as much as they could make, and that being my headline on my ad, and I still could get it to work. But there are instances where you just can't really explain everything in that right column ad, but it's very few and far between, if you will. And even if you're selling something boring, you can make it interesting just by using an outside the box ad strategy that will get the right column to work, okay? And for that matter, here is the creative that works for the right column here before I get into the case study and examples of what kind of results you can get with the right column ads. So the first one would be UGC ads, okay? So I talked about this many times on this channel before. This is not a secret anymore. User-generated content ads work really, really well. You could also do this in the right column as well. Basically, you pay an actor, or you get a customer, or you pretend like you're the customer itself, and you react to the product that you're selling, or service. It could be work done for services as well. And you say, wow, I just got this product in the mail today, and boy, is it great. It does this, this, and this, and this, and it's great because it solved this problem, and I would actually recommend it to anybody. That's a UGC style ad, and that works because it doesn't look like a pitch. When people see an ad, they normally have their guard up, and when they have their guard up, they're not going to let the message sink into their head nearly as easily as if they think somebody else is recommending it. And for that matter, that's why they're on Facebook to begin with, right? Is to not get ads, but get recommendations from friends and so on and so forth. So that is the most common ad that we run at our firm that makes the most money as a whole. And going along with that, we'll run ads on, we'll get featured placement on TV shows, news stations, which you can do just by reaching out to the place that you want to get featured on. Like you could literally reach out to a advertising rep at Fox, get on Fox News for 10 grand and get on a new product feature of part of the show on like a Fox and Friends or whatever, and they will sell you that placement. It looks like an organic placement, and then you use that feature on the show as your ad. Or you get on a Food Network show, and then during the show they just happen to use your kitchen appliance to mix the dough or whatever, and the person talks about it. Here, I just bought this new mixer, and this is what I've been using, and blah blah blah. And then you use that as your ad. So that's another type of UGC style ad. And it's just disguising a pitch so it doesn't look like a pitch. So therefore you get better adoption of what you're, from the user, given that a lot of people, as soon as they know it's a pitch, they're just going to turn their minds off mentally. So that would be one type of ad that's going to do better in the right column than it's going to be otherwise. But it would be the same thing in the news feed itself. Okay? Which, by the way, if you want more tips like this on how to actually get and make real money online with Facebook ads, Google ads, and so forth, you want to subscribe to this channel because you're not getting any better information that you're going to find on this channel, I promise you, on any other YouTube channel, because I do 40 hours a week of ad strategy at our firm, and I've been doing it for a decade plus now on dozens of ad accounts that I'm responsible for guaranteeing the results for our clients on. And I share exactly what works and what doesn't work on this channel with case studies, and nobody's doing this. People talk about running ads, but they don't run ads, and they're making money off of advertising money, which I don't give a crap about. And ultimately, the information's useless. So if you're serious about making money with ads, you should subscribe to this channel and get information straight from the source. Furthermore, you should check out my blog on my site at guaranteeppc.com/blog. The blog that I write personally has the strategies, and I document the strategies we're using to literally guarantee results for our clients there with screenshots, with everything you need to use them. You should definitely check that out as well because it's a great secondary resource to what I have on this channel. Moving forward here, okay, now other ads that are going to work great in the right column are info offers. So instead of offering the product or service at hand, you offer content itself. So instead of offering itself carpet cleaning services, you offer information about see why not cleaning your carpet causes 27 different diseases. And you run that piece. We've done something similar to that in the actual carpet cleaning space because there's only so many people in market for carpet cleaning on a monthly basis. And if all you do is try to tap into that or, offer a discount to get people that are maybe a little bit, it'll get a few more that way on Facebook and so forth, you can actually build up your market a lot more, if you will. And you market it to rich people that easily could pay for it. And then you send them to an advertorial style lander, which looks like a news article talking about how, basically kids are getting sick because they don't wash their carpet enough, so on and so forth. And then, and you explain there's a certain way that you have to do it to basically prevent this altogether. And, the best company in the area doing this is XYZ company. That was a real funnel that we ran. But you could do this type of thing. You see it more so in B2B niches where you're selling to businesses, and because you can mention about the savings or the money that you're going to gain using this particular product or service. But in B2C, it also works. It's just more underutilized. We use it a lot more in the health space where, find out how to new technique gets rid of headaches every time. And then they click that and it goes to advertorial lander again, where it looks like a news article. They read it, and you build and you generate sales that way. So that's one way you can get the right column ad to work. The other way you could do this is using an incredible offer or guarantee itself. So you could have lose 5 pounds in the next 30 days guaranteed, or we'll double your money back. And that could be your little headline mentioning nothing about what it is that you're selling, because you only got so much space to write your ad or have your ad in your ad in the right column there to communicate what you need to communicate. Which, by the way, if you wanted to do this correctly, you would actually run a separate Facebook campaign with just the right column placement by itself, so you could cater your ad copy and shorten your ad copy so it will work better. That's a little golden tip, but should have mentioned even earlier in the video, so most people that dropped off already would have had it. But you do this, what you're trying to just simply do is take somebody who has a certain desire, drive that traffic to your website, so then you can explain how you're actually going to do it. The important thing is that you're pulling people off of Facebook that has something that your product or service could solve. So that is one example of an incredible offer guarantee you can have. Like what we do for our own firm. We'll say, 25% more profit from your ads, 60 days, or your money, pay for your wasted ad spend. That's our offer that we've used across the internet. We have that on the right feed on Facebook ad as well, and does very well. For that matter, those are both types of ads that we ran in the right column placement that have worked, and gives you an idea of what you can do ultimately for yourself here as well. But you come up with a incredible offer, incredible guarantee, guaranteed lowest rate on your next home mortgage, or we'll give you a $100 Outback Steakhouse gift card. That's another one that we've ran. So you come up with some outlandish guarantee. Maybe you mention the product at hand or service at hand. Maybe you don't. It does, really it's irrelevant. How could you say something so outlandish that they have to click through and see how they're going to get it? Because it's almost too good to be true. You're better off, and this is I will say the big place that people make the biggest mistake when they're trying to market something online is they think about what they would like to say and then try to make that work. Where's the place where we can run the ad? Whereas what you ought to do is find out what people want to hear and then find a way to make it possible to deliver that. You could be a doctor, and from being a doctor and doing some research on the market that people hate more than anything about going to the doctor, waiting in the waiting room. Well, how can you say no waiting times, even though it's impossible, so that you could put that in the headline so that you'll get super high click-through rate? Once you do that, you've separated yourself out from all the competition. So now you don't have to worry about anything else because you've figured out how to do that one thing for your market. And that's a much more sustainable way to scale your business than competing on price or something else like this, and going through that alternative path of growing your business, which doesn't really grow it at all at the end of the day anyway. So you have that. You could also do a quiz or challenge ad. So, find out the protein powder that works for your muscle building goals. For somebody who's trying to build muscle, which this is another real one that we ran before, this is actually pretty enticing. If I actually cared about that I buy protein powder on a regular basis, so I'm a regular customer and we know it, and B, we know the person actually cares about quality and would buy another product if they knew the one that they're buying isn't the best one. So we get them to go to a quiz lander, which is what I call it anyway. It asks them a few questions and then it spits out the protein powder type that's right for them. Oh, of course, what do you know? It's actually our protein powder and they should buy it. And there's a offer on it that's only good for the next 30 days for Valentine's Day. And therefore you should buy it now because it's going to go up 50% in a month, whatever. And that's kind of funnel that we've ran. You could do this as well. And that could be one way to get the right column ads to pay off for you as well. Versus, just doing what everybody will typically do and just say, like in that protein powder example, protein powder for sale, 50% off for July or whatever. And people don't care with that. That offer is not nowhere near good enough. You find a way to make it interesting. You can take something that's boring, make your advertising work if you can make it interesting enough, put an interesting enough spin on it. People don't focus on the hook when that is where the real money is made. It's not in figuring out even the placements or the perfect targeted audience. It's more so the hook. And I've talked about this many times on this channel about how Facebook ads, it's more about the hook than anything else. But certainly, in addition to that, once you understand your hook, you'll know by figuring out your targeting and your placements that work the best, you can make even more. But you figure that hook out first. But that's a hook you can run for your product or service, or angle you can do on your product, do on your ads for your product or service. When you run your right column Facebook ads, that will get your ads to work, whereas they wouldn't have worked before using a typical everyday approach that people would tell you to take. For that matter, if you're still confused, by the way, you can reach out to me at my agency and I'll come out with a hook. I'll let you know what to do. I can tell you 20 other things that you can do to make your ads profitable for your business. What else, where else you can run your ads, not even just on Facebook, but other places. Reach out to me at guaranteedppc.com. If you're interested in that, I can have a quick conversation with you about it, see what your goals are, and I can tell you whether what you want is possible, and then if we can guarantee it for you. All our services are guaranteed in terms of increase in profit up front, as I mentioned at the start of the video. We also sell ad templates. If we've already got the results you're looking for in your niche market, we can sell you the winning ads already work in your market already, and you cut out all the time it takes to find out how to get results in your market. Literally, we could have already made millions of dollars a year, selling your product or service in a different state, county, country, whatever, and you just utilize what we have in your own local market. We're not competing with you, and you can get the same results there. We've worked in over 100 plus different niche markets, so the chances are quite high we've already got the results you're looking for already, or at least you should reach out and find out what results we have gotten in it, what you ultimately stand to gain from it. But going back to what I was saying here, the reason why newsfeeds they'll work better when they work better than the right column is when you need to add more context. There's certain situations where you just cannot sum up in a few words the value proposition that you're trying to get across in that ad, and then a newsfeed ad's actually going to convert better. But other than that, the right column is going to convert better because the CPM or cost per 1,000 impressions or 1,000 times your ad shows is less in that right column, as I mentioned at the start of the video. So you should try to make that right column work. And with the magic being, come up with a different campaign that targets right column by itself, so you can actually exploit it with different ad copy that's more concise. So with that said, getting into the case study I mentioned I was going to go over here, we had a product in the wedding planning space, and this was something that essentially you give for your wedding that you don't tell your wife about, your spouse about, as kind of like a surprise element to the wedding. I can't give you the exact offer because then clients or you guys, of course, would steal the idea and all that. But that was the category, if you will, type of offer that we were running. And just to show you just how profitable this right column is, given that, yes, the downside is there's less volume there, certainly. And once you get right column to work, you should try to get newsfeed ads to work as well. But if you can't make enough ROI, then you might just go right column by itself. And certainly it's profitable enough, and the CPA that you get and the ROAS that you get is so high that you should separate it out into a separate campaign so you can really drill into it as much as possible. But for this particular product, actually it's a service to be specific, on the newsfeed placements that we also ran for this client, we had $124 cost per sale that we had itself, which basically had no intention of running the right column by itself, but like with many campaigns that we run both automatically, and because we know it works. Now, what do you think the cost per sale that we got for this wedding product when we ran a right column? How much was our cost per transaction? Our cost per transaction running the right column And this was actually, just to clarify, it was on 27 conversions. So this wasn't a statistical anomaly, in other words. And this is on a one individual campaign, not overall, to make it even more consistent in terms of the results. 40 conversions on the newsfeed placement. We had $11 cost per transaction on the right column ads. So less than 90% of the cost per action or cost per sale of the newsfeed campaign is what the right column placement delivered for us. And this was a UGC style ad, just so that you know, where, basically we showed the reaction of the husband/wife at the wedding that saw this service itself. And that is what we had in the ad. Worked beautifully. We've made many millions of dollars selling this, but this shows you just how much different the ROI is going to be for the right column. Not in all cases, selling something that might be a bit more complicated, that you can't sum up so easily, but in a case where you can, it will work extremely well and extremely much more than newsfeed placement will. So that's a perfect example of how and why you should actually do this and how much it actually can work. If you're not sure about your situation, you can also reach out to me, and you're stuck where you're at. I can do a coaching or consulting call with you, and I tell you how to get unstuck with where you're at. I can look at your landing page, all the rest of it, see where you're really stuck at. It may be your issue with your pricing strategy, your website. I'm trained to look at all this and let you know where you're stuck at. If you're interested in that, you can also reach out to me at my firm at guaranteedppc.com. If you have any questions about anything I've covered here, though, you can always leave me a comment below as well. I get back to every single person who leaves me a question or comment on this channel, usually within 24 hours time. But with all that said, the right column is really, really profitable, even though the volume might be 10 to 50% of what you're going to get in the regular newsfeed. It's nothing to sneeze at, and it will be, generally speaking, your way that you can just get Facebook ads to work, whereas newsfeed ads won't work by themselves because they're not profitable enough. The ROI is not enough. Cost per lead is, too high, if you will. So I highly encourage you even to use it. And then if you aren't already, and if you're struggling to make an ROI, just go right column and try to make ad copy for the right column, because make it work the best. Making special ad copy for the right column, just to give you an idea on how much more of a lift in your sales, ROI, and stuff that'll give you versus just using the copy that you're using for the newsfeed there on the right column. You're talking about at least double the click-through rate and sales and ROI that you get doing that versus just using the same copy for both itself. So that should give you enough encouragement to write and come up with separate copy for the right column ad that you want and placement that you want to run there. So with that said, though, I pretty much gave you all the tips I could about the right column ads, why they work, how they work. Let me know if you have any questions in the comment section, as I mentioned earlier, and I'll see you in the next one.
Remember when I said Facebook ads was important during this video? Well, this video here tells you how to do it.